Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are in the world. Your boy JJ right here once again at JJ's PC Builds. Let's see, what do we got on store today? This is what we got on store today. The Nvidia 480 16 gigabit VRAM graphics card. Do stick around, we're going to get more for you right after this B-roll right here at JJ's PC Builds. Well, welcome back. I guess you made it through the B-roll section to the next section. Well, let's keep it rolling. What I got up in store for you is the 4080, the RTX 4080 from Nvidia, the 16 gigabyte version graphics card. Okay, today we're gonna just do a quick glance over, and it's supposed to be coming out tomorrow, which that is the 11/16, which is tomorrow. We're going to do a quick overview on it, and I'm going to take you along with me, and we're going to walk through step by step what that card's all about. So don't go anywhere, don't touch your dial, because we got more information for you. We don't have the card on hand, but we're just going to go ahead and give you what our thoughts are going to be at the end. So, all in all, I'll let you know what I'm thinking. But first, let's go through the stats and see what the card's all about, so that way you can get a better idea of what you're looking at. You know, if you decide to go buy this or not, and my opinions will be at the end, so do stick around all the way to the end to find out what my final thoughts are. Alright, let's go ahead and pull these stats up right real quick. Boom. We're going to be coming up to it. Boom. Here we go again. See, I'll pull it up because I know Tech Power Up is a good source of information. So I pulled up Tech Power Up because I wanted to get the precise details of what's going on. We're going to have a look around. We're going to see if we can find some benchmarks, you know, give you a better general idea of what's going on. I know I said in previous videos I wasn't going to post other people's benchmarks, but it comes down to the point in time that when you don't have the device, you got to put something out there. So I'm going to go with the best information I can find. So I am going to bring that to you on this channel. And when I get my hands on these new graphics cards, and let's say graphics cards, processors, and so on, then we'll start benchmarking, and I will compare those benchmarks that I do now to the benchmarks when I benchmark the items myself. So this way it gives me a good idea of what other people are getting compared to what I'm getting in benchmarks. It will be pretty interesting to let you know. So, but again, stick around to the end and I'll tell you what's going on, and I'll give you my final thoughts about this new GeForce RTX 4080. Looking at the 4080, we're going to go up here. I'm going to tilt my head upwards because I got to look at two screens just to let you know. I got the screen in front of me right here. Got my screen in front of me right here. And I got my screen in front of me up here. I did lose my little screen that was right in front of the camera. So, you know, I got to use my secondary screen that's above, but it's above my head, so I got to look upwards. It's not that I'm not paying attention to you, which I am paying attention to you, just to let you know. It's just I got to look up and down, you know. It's like you got to look up and down, side to side, you know. You know how it goes. But just to let you know, I am definitely, my focus is on the viewers, to let you know that. But anyway, let's just get into this. Okay, Now this is the AD103. It's got 9,728 cores. It's got 304 TMUs. It's got 112 ROPs. And its memory size is 16 gigabytes. It's GDDR6X. And get this, GDDR6X. Now, we'll find out as we go along and give you what the extreme part of it is, because it's supposed to be the extreme, but it's got a 256 bus bandwidth. You know, when you get a 64-bit bus, back years ago, it used to run an 8-bit bus, and then it went up to 16, and then it went up to 32, and then it went up to 64. And usually the normal was the 64-bit bandwidth. The reason why is because it didn't take away from the hard drive, or it didn't take away from the other apparels that was connected to the motherboard. So they dedicated 64-bit just for the operating system, you know, where the operating system spreads out the bandwidth and everything else and so on. But then they changed things up to where now that, you know, with the new UEFI systems, you can go to 256, 312, 392, and so on, because they widened the spectrum up to be a higher bandwidth. So with that, I'm waiting to see on a 600 plus bit bus. I'm waiting for that to come about soon enough. But looking at this is the 4080. From what they're saying is that the 4090 is only 25% higher. If you're looking at this chart right here it shows the GeForce RTX 4090 at 125% compared to the 4080, which is at 100%. Okay, when you pull up these numbers, and if you get a successor that's right in front of it, it'll give an average of what the percentage that is for that card. So basically, the highest one right now is the GeForce RTX 4090, which is only a 25% improvement as far as Tech Power-Ups is saying. A 25% improvement. Okay, now, to me, if they're saying it's a 25% improvement, and they're charging, what, $1,200 right here. $1,200 USD. You know, US money. So, why are they charging so much? Who knows? Is it well worth the price? That depends. Like I said, I'll give you my final input at the end. Make sure you watch the video all the way to the end, so that way you get my final thoughts of what I think is a good deal or a bad deal. And if I tell you it's a bad deal, it's a bad deal, just to let you know. Anyway, let's keep going down the list. The variant is the AD103-300A1. Okay, now if I remember right, yeah, this is the Ada Lovelace. The foundry is TSMC. It's a 4-nanometer process. Transistors is 45,900 million transistors. The die size is 379 millimeters to the second power. The release date was supposed to be September 20th, and it's now November the 15th. So, if this is giving you any hint of what that means, is they built the card. They built the card in September. That was, well, before September, but they finished it in September and released the they release the announcements to tell you when it's going to be presented. You know, it goes in like little sections. Anyway, we're not going to get into all that because that's not what we're looking at. This is supposed to be a bus interface of PCIe 4.0 x16. Now, with the 4.0 x16, that kind of teeters in between PCIe 5.0 and 4.0. So basically, you're like in between 4.0 and 5.0 as far as the bus, the PCIe bus. So that's not bad. That's pretty good. I will give that to them. That's pretty good. They have 8 reviews in their database, so they don't have many reviews on this card. But the bus, the memory bandwidth is 716.80 gigabits per second. It does DirectX 12 Ultimate to this DirectX 12, the second version of Ultimate. Its OpenGL is 4.6, its OpenCL is 3.0, Vulkan at 1.3, CUDA is at 8.9, and the shader model is 6.6. The shading units is 9,728, and the SM count is 76. The tensor cores is 304. RT cores is 76. Oh, well, that's going to be a little bit difference with the RT cores on the... No, we're not going to go there, but that's for another video. The L1 cache is 128 kilobytes per SM. And the L2 cache is 64 megs. Now, they don't have an L3 cache to this, so, you know, who's to say if that won't come up to be a new thing. But the theoretical performance, theoretical, doesn't mean it's actual, it's theoretical. Pixel rate is 280.6 gigapixels. You get texture rate at 761.5 gigatextiles. You got FP16 half performance at 48.74 T-flops. It's 1-to-1. So the FP32 float performance, 48.74 T-flops. And the FP64 double performance is 761.5 G-flops, 1-to-64 ratio. Oh, that's not too bad. Okay, now the cards that are the manufacturers that are going to be coming out with this, it looks like Asus, Colorful, Gainwords, Galax, KFA, MSI, PNY, and Zotac are going to be, going to be the AIB partners. There might be more in the later runs, so do make sure you keep an eye out for that. But I'm going to read to you what I'm reading up here. This says the GeForce RTX 4080 is an enthusiast class graphics card by Nvidia. Launched on September the 20th, 2022. Built on a 4nm process based on the AD103 graphic processor in its AD103-300A1 variant. The card supports DirectX 12 Ultimate. This ensures that all modern games will run on GeForce RTX 4080. Now, they're ensuring that all games will run, but, to me, there's always going to be some kind of bug somewhere. So, don't keep your hopes up too much on that, because you all know there's going to be a bug here or a bug there. So, and like I said, after the first of the year, when they got everything pretty much kind of worked out, it would be better to keep your hopes up for anything in January or February of 2023. That's where I'm keeping my hopes up to see what is going to be affordable then. But anyway, moving on. This says, additionally, the DirectX 12 Ultimate compatibility guarantees support for hardware ray tracing, variable rate. All right, right here. Supports for hardware, ray tracing, variable rate shading, and more in upcoming video games. And the AD103 graphics processor is a large chip with a die area of 379 millimeters to the second power, 45,900 million transistors. It features 9,728 shading units, 304 texture map units, and 112 ROPs. Also includes our 304 tensor cores, which helps improves the speed of machine learning applications. The card has 76 ray tracing acceleration cores. Nvidia has paired 16 gigabytes of GDDR6X memory with the GeForce RTX 4080, which are connected using a 256 memory interface. Now, why wouldn't they have gone a little bit higher on the bit rate? That's a good question. You know, why wouldn't they have gone up to, like, is there a limit on the bit rate? That's going to be one question. You know, everybody's going to bring up, what's the restriction to have it only at 256 bit? Why couldn't it have gone higher to get a better bandwidth? Maybe there's a restriction on the motherboard to where it only goes up to that spot. You never know. The GPU is operating at a frequency of 2205 megahertz. I got a problem with that. If you're doing it at a base of 2205 megahertz, that's not bad. You know, which it says it boosts up to 2505 megahertz. Okay, memory is running at 1400 megahertz, 22.4 gigabytes per second effectively. Okay, so 1400 megahertz for the memory. Well, isn't the memory running higher than 1400 megahertz? Because the memory that's on for my iGPU is running at 1800 megahertz. What makes a discrete graphics card different from what I have in my system? That's a good question. But anyway, moving on. Being a dual slot card, which is a little bit bigger than a dual slot card, you like it almost a triple slot card, maybe a 4 slot card. Let's try that. The Nvidia GeForce 4080 draws power from one X16 pin power connector with the power draw rate at 320 watts. Okay, well, if it draws 320 watts, why would they use that crappy connector that they used on the 4090 that catches fire? Why wouldn't they have gone back to the old connector where they used it on the 3080 and the 3090? Wouldn't that have made more sense? Or the 3060 or the 3050? You think people are going to spend hundreds of dollars just to buy another power supply, another PSU, just to buy this graphics card? See, this is the caveat. This is where they make that mistake, and putting all this extra high tech that's not needed for this type of card. This type of card should have never had the 4090 connector on it. The 4080 should not have the 4090 connector on it. They should have been smart like AMD and used the old connectors that they always use, the eight pin connectors, because that way then you give your consumers, you give the consumers a better way to go. At least they can have some kind of peace of mind. They're just paying for the video card and they're not paying for a power supply as well. That's why some people, and you have to understand this, Nvidia, this is why some people go to a different card, is because you're forcing them to buy a power supply they don't want to buy. They want to be able to have their own system to where they can swap out a graphics card, and boom, done. They're just paying for the graphics card. They're not paying for a whole system just to support the graphics card. That's the problem. And also, too, they're not buying a graphics card that's going to catch fire because the pins are not connecting correctly. Well, that's not the consumer's fault. That is the manufacturer's fault. Now, manufacturers, you need to wake up to this and smell the coffee on this a little bit. Because you know what? You're kind of costing yourself more money by putting in faulty connectors other than putting in a better proprietary connector like they use the normal 8-pin connectors, which you could have put two 8-pin connectors on there to make one 16-pin. And it would have been a thicker way to do it. And and then you would have had some kind of angle connector for the front or the back or whatever. Me, I would have put the power connection on the other side and have a direct line going from the GPU, the discrete graphics card, plugged into the back side, other than being in front of the glass, plug it onto the back side, and you don't see the power cord at all. I would rather have it to where you don't see the power cord at all. If that was the case, that you can't, bend it this way or this way, you should have had it plugged on the other side towards where the motherboard was. And then that way it's a direct line. That would have been common sense. But anyway, who am I to tell them what their business is? They want to lose money or they want to gain money. That's up to them. But anyway, moving on down the road. Now, the card dimensions, that's another caveat. But at the end, I'll give you my final thought on the card size, the power connectors, and stuff like that. When we get to the end of the video, that's what we're going to focus on. Okay, that we're going to focus on. I'm going to give you the ups on the good parts about this card, and the down parts. I'm going to give you the good and the bad. So you're going to get both. And yes, y'all are wondering, yes, I do got my drink right here. I told y'all I always have my 52-ounce drink right here with me, so I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. This is the only thing that I get for satisfaction. Thank you. But anyway, a little bit of an itch. Moving on down the road. Okay, so far we've seen everything about this card. I told you the AIB partners that's going to be with this card that I see they have posted. So what we're going to do next is we're going to see if we got the RT, did I? Yes, I did. RTX 4080 benchmarks. I told you, when I take you all along with me, I take you all along with me. Okay, that means when I'm typing in and stuff like that, let's see. Let's go to user benchmarks and see what they come up with. Let's see what they come up with. Okay, well, okay, the RTX 4080, they give me one. But what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take it and put it against. We're going to want to put it against. There we go. Okay, so we put this against the 4080 against the 3090 Ti, right? Now, this is on this is for user benchmarks. They do good as well. So, but what I see is that it's this says the RTX 4080 has a 34% advantage. So that's not too bad. It sits ranked second. You know, what they're saying is much better lighting effects, much better reflection handling, much faster multi rendering, faster end body calculations, better peak lighting effects, slightly better peak reflection handling, you know, pretty much, you know. Looking at the market shares, it looks like they got a good market share going on. But the average bench is about 355%. So against the 3090 Ti, it looks like it's got a rating. It's got the 3090 Ti is third place. It's only 265%. So now that we see the difference between the 4080 and the RX 3090, let's see what it does against AMD. Wow. This is the AMD RX 6950 XT. The RTX 4080 is rated at 65, and the AMD RX 6950 XT is rated at 54. Wow, 90%. It says it's 90% faster. The 4080 is 90% faster than RX 6950 XT. Compared to the benchmarks, it's 355% for the 4080, and for the 6950 XT, it's 187. Wow. Comparisons to lighting, it's double the lighting, it's double the reflection, it's double the M rendering, and it's almost close to, it's about 170 more on the gravity to it. FPS wise, it's nice to have. It looks like there's a 5% margin markup on the FPS. So, you know, Parallel X, it's 511 FPS to 590. Huh. That's where I'm a little confused with this. See, the thing is the 4080 is showing less FPS numbers than the RX 6950. But you know, these are just stats. These are just, you know, stats amongst the amount many that have been, you know, put into the calculator here. But it looks like the RX 6950 don't have bad stats compared to the 4080. That could be due to the driver updates as well. This could have been, you know, to where they use the sample updates and not the actual overall driver updates itself. So I'm not going to base it too much on this, but they say it's 5% faster than the 6950 XT. We'll just say that for now. Price to performance. We'll get to that in the end, and we'll get there. So do stick around for that. Let's see what else we can compare this to. Okay, let me just blow you out of the water and put the 4090 against the 4080. Okay, the difference is there's a $400 difference, and I'm showing that right here to you. $1,200 here and $1,600 here. Okay, $400 difference. But as far as performance, the 4080 is only 19, or the 4090 is only 19% more, and an average score is only 17%. Overclock score is only 38% more. Okay, so nice to have, it's about 5% better. Okay, that's where I'm going to focus on. Okay, right here. This is what I'm going to focus on right here. The 5%. Because you're trying to tell me parallax is 511 on the 4080, but it's 835 on the 4090. You know, as far as stat wise, there's not much of a difference. It's just the parallax occlusion mapping, the stones, is right here. There's only a couple hundred FPS difference here, but everything else is within 5 to 7%. So you're going to make me pay $400 more for a card that's only 5% less than the 4090? We'll talk about that when we get to the end, but from what I see right here, this is what tells me a lot. This is what tells me a lot. Okay. But this is just one user benchmark. This isn't many. This is just one user benchmark. Okay. And the 4090 is 2,400 user benchmarks. Do remind you of that. So you got one here and you got 2,400 here. So that makes a bit of a difference. It makes a big difference when excuse me. It makes a big difference when you're trying to get the overall thing, but you're getting pretty much the idea. You're getting pretty much the idea of is it better, is it faster, or what is it? Okay. You're trying to tell yourself, is it better, is it faster, or is it worth it? That's what you're trying to ask yourself. All right, let's get down to the conclusions, because I don't want this to go on forever, because this card does come out tomorrow. What time, I cannot tell you. That I'm unsure of, but I can tell you the card is coming out. It is coming out. From what I seen from the first time, this is what they gave for the 4090, right? And then they come out with the 4080. Okay. And this is what they said, that it was 2 to 4 times faster than the 3080 Ti. Okay. The 16, now the 12 gigabyte, just scratch off. But the 16 gigabyte, nothing's changed. It's still a $1,200 card. Nothing's changed. And available in November, which is true. Okay, so it's supposed to be 2 to 4 times faster than a 3080. I can believe that, because if you go back and you look at and put this at the, I had this at the 3090 Ti. Okay, if you go back down here, that the 3090 Ti is it's 45% faster here, right? Make sure I got the right cards. Yep. So it says it's 5% faster than the 3080 Ti. Well, let's look at the 3080 Ti. Same price. 3080 Ti, the 4080, same price. Look at that. What do you know? Isn't that something, right? From the effective speed says 53% better, you know, but this is only one benchmark. So we'll go by the one benchmark and say that this says 254, this says 355%. Okay? So that's where they're getting it from. One review, but you know, price to performance, forget it. That's where you're going to be fooled. That's where you're going to be fooled. Is there anything else I need to see? No. So, looking at it, 3D, effective 3D speed, right here. 355%, 232. Now you go to the 3090 Ti. Wait a minute. 3080 is 232. Now the 3090 is 265. So the 3090 is only 30% faster than the 3080. So this means this is only 34% faster than the 3090. That's what this is saying. 34%. So you're only getting a gain of margin of 4%. That's it. 4%. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4%. That's all you're getting. From the jump from the 3080 to the 3090 to the 4080, you're only getting a 4%. You're only getting 4% faster. So that's the 3090. And believe it or not, the 3090 might be cheaper than the 3080. So let's see. Let's kind of barrel that down a little bit. Let's go to Amazon. I'm doing an investigation. RTX 3090. Oh wow. let's say, $1,650. So you're trying to, they jacked up the price. They jacked up the price of, that's what everybody missed. This is what everybody missed right here. They jacked up the price of the 3090, the 3080, the 3070, just to bring that new card on for $1,100 or $1,200. So you, in order to get these, the 3080s, the 3090s, you're going to spend. This is what they're trying to compare the new AMD stuff with. This is so wrong. This is so wrong right here. All right, I've seen enough on this. I've seen enough. Okay, I'm going to turn all this off. All right, my final thoughts. The 4080, to me, number one, price to performance, it's not there. I can tell you right there, price to performance is not there. It's valued, it should have been valued at about maybe $899. That's where I feel it's like maybe $400 or $500 too high. Especially when you compare it to the 3090, the 3090 itself is way too high. That should have been at $700. These cards, as they get older, they should depreciate in price. The price should go down, not up. And that's a problem with manufacturers, is they turn around, they try to resell these old cards and try to make more money. You already made your money on these cards, these older cards. Bring down the price where, the consumer can afford it. You already made your money on this card, like the 3090, the 3080, and so on. And you want to bring out a new market of cards, that's where your money should go up a little bit. But if you bring down the price of your older cards, then, you got a better deal. I got to look outside. Oh, my goodness. But that's the problem. You're trying to corner the market. You're trying to corner the market on these cards. It's not working. By you increasing the price of your older cards, trying to decrease the price a little bit on the newer cards isn't balancing. You would sell out better with your older cards, your older video cards, by lowering the price to where people can afford it. Okay, you got the 1% in the United States and the European countries and all that can afford these cards. But you got the rest of the percentage, which is a large percentage. 20% of that can barely afford these cards at these prices. But you still got, you still got about 79% that can almost afford the cards, but it's going to take a long time for them to afford it. So they got to save up for like 6 months to a year before they can actually afford a $1,600 card. Inflation went up. Doesn't mean the prices of the cards that are already built go up. That's just price gouging. Now, if that don't make sense to you, if you already built your cards at a certain price, okay, let's say, for an example, your cards are already built and you spent $20 to build each one of your cards. Now that inflation went up, the price to build those same cards would cost double. I can see if you have to build the cards again that you would have that doubling of price. But what I don't see is that if you already had the cards built and you already sent them out, why the price has got to jump up. That's just price gouging. That's basically getting greedy and not looking at the consumer and saying, hey, the consumer matters more. We need to bring the prices down so they can afford it. And that way we get in good with the consumer. Who do you think pays your bills? You ain't paying mine. That's for damn sure. Because if you were paying my bills, then I would give you a positive output of this. But I'm going to give you the positive output. Okay, if you don't have ray tracing and you don't have, and it's just standard base level card. Okay, a standard base level card at its base level settings. Just to play normal games, not AAA or anything, just normal outright games. Yeah, you got that cornered. Hold on. Alrighty, sorry about that. We had the phone ringing. To get back to my thought, I know this is going to be a little lengthy video, but the thing is this. When you're looking at the fact of you're getting a new card, I'm going to go try to do my best to go into detail about that card. And the 4080 16GB card is something to go into, because when new cards come out, this will give a base reference to me when I go to pick up these cards and try to benchmark and do everything with them. Okay, the positive of this card. I'm just going to go ahead and start over with the positive. This will be my final thoughts about this card, and when it comes out tomorrow, then, you know, we can go from there. But as far as me benchmarking it right now, I don't have the funds for it, and I have to wait for that. So I'm just going to give you my thoughts. The positive look of the card is that it's 16 gigabytes of VRAM. Okay, it's GDDR6. That's a positive. It's got over 9,000 plus cores. That's a plus. Because most of your graphics cards go between 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000, and so on. But when it comes to higher end, 9,000 is not too bad. You definitely get some progress with that. It's when it comes to gaming, it will give you a good standing with your games when it comes to, if you want to do 1080p gaming, which if you don't have 4K, it's best to go with the 1080p gaming. You know, that's something to really think about. You know, when it comes to, you know, low level gaming, just say you want to do standard gaming and all that, that's fine. I mean, it doesn't require RT, it doesn't require FSR3, it doesn't require, you know, DLS3, or, you know, it doesn't require anything. It's just base cores on that graphics card. That's all you need. It's good for that. I'll tell you, it's really good for that. And, you know, there's not too much bad things I can say. As I went through and I showed you some benchmarks on user benchmarks, even though it's one benchmark, it's still something to work with. As far as later on down the road, I'm sure we'll take and revisit this video again when I get my hands on the card, and then I'll take and match the benchmarks that I put onto this video, and I'll match it with the benchmarks I do with the video card itself, and then we'll go from there. Till then, if I don't have my hands on it, I'm just going to speculate, because this is basically my opinion, speculation to you. It's got all good components. Okay, but here comes the bad side to it. The bad side I feel to this is, one, it has that ridiculous power connector. That's something they should have never used, because they look at putting the here, let me put you to my other view. There. Now you can really see me. They look at putting that ridiculous power connector in front where the glass is, you know, for the PC case. That right there, that's a no-no. Okay, now if they were to put it, let me grab a card here. Okay, let's say this is the card, right? And this right here is the front of the card, and it's against the glass about maybe like this far, and you put that ridiculous power connector there. I say ridiculous because it is ridiculous. They should have thought about, since this side right here, if you can see this right here, you know, if you plug it in like this is the way you plug it in, to the back of the PCs here, and this is where the card plugs in. Now, if you got a card this long, and look at it very carefully, if you got a card this long, right, you got all that extra PCB on that card to put that connector on this side, not this side, this side. Okay, now that plug will go directly into the back. It doesn't bend it any which way. You know, look at it very carefully. I mean, that's common sense right there. That's common sense right there. Right here, you got this length of card, and it's this long. Okay, you put the power connector right here, right? As the motherboard's only going to come to here. Most of your standard motherboards come to here. So you put the connector here, right here, and then it plugs directly out the back. Guess what? You don't see the cord anymore. So that ridiculousness goes away. Now, if you do that, and you put that connector to the back side, then you won't have a connector issue where it's bending like this and this and this and this. You know, you won't have that issue. So that's one bad caveat that this card has, is that you put the power connector in the front side, which is, you should have went and put it onto the back side of the card. The card that shows directly to the motherboard itself. So that way you just clip it in, plug it in. All you do is you clip it in, plug it in, put the screw in, and guess what? You're done. So you clip in the power connector first, and then you clip it into the motherboard. How hard is that? That's common sense. It would have been worth the extra little bit of cash to put that connector on the other side. Not on the back side, on the opposite side. And redo that whole power section, which won't be hard because you're just moving it around, and just move your components around to where it's flipped over onto the other side. And guess what? No problems. You would have solved the problem before it happened. And everybody would have been happy. You plug in the card first to the power connector, and then you plug it into the motherboard. Done. But you didn't do it that way. Okay? Now, I don't know what the ridiculousness is plugging in front of the card, the power connector. I don't see how that's going to make it beneficial when you got to take an extra 6 inches of wire, pushing current through an extra 6 inches of wire just to get that to work. And then you got so many breaks in those connectors. You got it coming from the modular power supply. That's one break. And then you bring up through your extra cord to the next link, which is that little adapter. That's another break. And then you pump it into the back, into the front of that card. That's another break. You got 3 breaks in that wire. You lose 1%, 1 to 2% power over time. I say over time. I'm not saying right away. I'm saying over time. Over a period of time, you lose power from those connections. Instead of having one solid connection coming from the internal of the power supply, going directly into the video card. That's one break. That one break is coming from the connector into the video card. You will have less problems that way than you would having 3 breaks in a wire. But anyway, I don't want this video to get too long, but I'm going to tell you, price to performance, $1,100, it's not there. Okay. With this card, you're only given 3,000 more cores than you are to what AMD is about to put out on the 13th, I think it is, the 13th of December. Their 7900 XTX is only going to be 300 cores away from the fact of, this 4800, the RTX 4800. So it's price to performance. I myself would more than recommend to everybody having those a card catching fire to go with the better, because AMD come up with the standard 8 pins. Okay, this is the negative side to Nvidia. Okay, if you would have stayed with the standard 8 pins, instead of not going with one 8 pin, go with 3 8 pins or 4 8 pins, you would have been better off. If you would have went with 4 8 pins, then that's 600 watts and saved that 16 pin. Okay, save that 16 pin for 2 16 pins for your enthusiast cards, your high performance cards. That's what you should have put them towards. Not towards what you sell to the everyday consumer. You knew this was going to happen. So you pull back the 4080 12 gigabyte card because of the name. It cost yourself money there. Now you're RMAing the 4090s because the power pin keeps catching fire. Now what do you think is going to happen with the 4080? Guarantee there's going to be a whole gain of problems. So the cards you just put out are nothing but a headache issue at this point. If you would have fixed the power connector back to using the 8-pin connectors, or even beefed up the 8-pin connectors and made them thicker to where they handle more power, then you could have went 2 8-pin connectors and rated them at 300 watts per connector. Okay, now you can pull 300 watts out of those connectors if they're thicker. If you made it thicker and more solid, made it solid core, and inside the connection head itself, you made it solid core, a male solid core to female, you would have pulled more power from that. But you're running what, 22 gauge, and you're not even using Teflon wire. That's another thing. If you use Teflon wire, that Teflon wire will handle more heat dissipation than anything. No, you're using cheap plastic wire. So I just wanted to give you that thought. I didn't want this to become an hour video, but I guess it did become an hour video. So, but anyway, like and subscribe if you like my videos. Make sure you subscribe to them. It would help us out tremendously to get up and get past that little hurdle that YouTube put on us, the 1,000 subscribers and the 4,000 watch hours. It'd be much appreciated. Watch all the videos. I got over 100 plus videos right now. Okay, I'm not stopping, and I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep it rolling for many of years on this channel. So do like and subscribe, and it would be much appreciated. If you want to become part of the family, subscribe. It's not hard. It doesn't cost you anything. You know, I didn't say, you know, you got to come out of pocket. Just subscribe. But anyway, this is my final thoughts. And until the next video, this is JJ, your boy. We will see you on the next one. And do stay tuned.